Maniac Driver. Okay. All right. So this film is Maniac Driver,
Yeah.
which is another loner film about a man who it's a giallo film, a Japanese giallo film, where I don't know, how do you kind of describe the sort of plot? It's a taxi driver. It's basically Taxi Driver. To me, Taxi Driver meets New York
Maniac.
Ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maniac. Yeah,
Maniac Driver. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly that.
yeah. And well, I haven't seen Maniac, so I can't talk about that one. But
Ah,
um, yeah, it's a taxi driver who has apparently lost his wife in a horrendous murder that he witnessed,
right. This
and
is Tomoki Kimura is our main
yeah,
character, and his wife is played in flashbacks by porn star Iori Kagawa. There's a few porn stars in this film.
there are, yeah, um, and uh, you don't quite know at first whether he's actually murdering these women, but it becomes apparent that he's sort of fantasizing about them, and yeah, each sort of psychosexual fantasy that he has is giallo in its nature, its color. They're the sort of porn star victims are dressed in ridiculous kind of one's dressed in a bunny costume. They're dressed in various kind of erotic fancy costumes,
Yeah.
and then he murders them, and they're doing quite kind of silly things.
It's like a fetish video, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Or yeah, so his fantasies are almost like a homage to giallo in a way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And he's
and
got a crash helmet on, and so
yeah,
apparently his missus was killed by someone in a crash helmet, and so he wants to spread the hate, basically, is what he says. He's been
yeah,
traumatized, so he wants to take someone else's loved one away from them, just like it happened to him, right?
yeah, to rebalance and
Yeah.
to get
So then,
retribution.
so then he finds someone eventually who is again played by Yori Kagawa, who's Kogawa, sorry, who's the spitting image of his wife,
Hmm.
except she's a little bit crippled, as far as I could tell, is the only difference.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if we want to spoil that part.
yeah, there's a few last minute complications, aren't there? But basically, it's extremely stylized, but on a low budget. Yeah, retro giallo, De Palma, Maniac meets Taxi Driver meets fetish video thing, with a few you got Ai Sayama, Sariu Usui, and Ayumi Kumito turns up right at the very end. And apparently one of the passengers in the back of the taxi at some point is Tom Mess of Midnight Eye, and who wrote that book about Takashi Miike and other stuff. He's in there, and I confirmed with him. I made friends with him on Facebook to make sure if he is in it. In one of those endless time lapse photography scenes. There's a lot of time lapse to.
There is.
Yeah.
He takes an inordinate amount of pills as well that would probably kill you, I think.
And there's a kind of metal soundtrack.
Yes.
And he does the Travis Bickle "Are You Talking to Me" thing in Japanese.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny hearing it in Japanese. It's only 75 minutes, but it's about 70 minutes too long. I think this is probably a 5-minute short, really. But I mean, how did you get on? I found it kind of tiresome, to be honest with you. But did you get some fun out of this? Or
I got some fun. I thought there were some bits that were sort of enjoyable, because I thought I don't know, to me, I don't know, you are kind of like a giallo aficionado, and
not that much giallos in specific.
well, I mean, to me, I was just thinking about, like, you know, what I was wondering what giallo is to you, but to me, it's sort of like a, you know, this lurid fever dream type thing.
At its best, I think it is. Yeah, kind of like
Yeah,
hallucinogenic.
and
Yeah,
and it has this kind of it's sort of like playing at murder when you're a kid, you know, like giallo is, you know,
right.
like it's how you would, you know, do murder or, you know, killing as a kid. You'd be like, "Ah,"
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I know what
and
you mean. It's got that totally amoral kind of feeling, like yeah. If you don't consider, it's not a genre where you concern yourself with representation or like
yeah,
feeling for the victims or stuff in general. There's a few exceptions, like I'm thinking of like Don't Touch a Duckling or something like that, but it's kind of murder as
as,
sexy fun, right? Like
yeah, as gleeful as it can be,
yeah,
as you can be, as if you're a kid, if you were playing. I mean, when we played, uh, you know, some of the games we played, actually with George, who we've had on,
hello George.
yeah, but you know, with a lot, you know, Land of Traps that we used to play and stuff like that around, you know, we would be killing each other, and it would be, you know, and you know, and then if we were bored on a Saturday afternoon, we would just fire imaginary bullets at each other and
Hmm.
go
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that and
yeah, yeah.
swing back off the sofa, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like I said,
And
when you're doing that as a kid, you're not play acting like we need to find a peaceful resolution to this conflict. You're just playing.
and you go, yeah, it wouldn't be any deeper than, yeah,
Yeah,
like lots of
exactly.
blood. And you know, so in that sense, like the film, I enjoyed it because you know, you know, he's explored, you know, because it becomes apparent that it's his you know, his his sort of fantasy that he's going through. And then I don't know, do we say what the neighbor said, or should we leave that as a
I think we
um,
can kind of, I mean, unless it's pertinent to something you wanted to bring up, we can leave it kind of spoiler free. And
yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really
let's put it
matter.
another way. If you're going to spoil it, just say you're going to spoil
Yeah,
it. Spoil
no,
it.
yeah, no, I'll leave it. It's just that, you know, I like the way that it you know, it kind of what was occurring to me, just, well, the things that he was saying about like there's this quote at the end, that's fake, isn't it? Like the if the world considers hatred and lies are virtues, then the villains will go on unpunished by C.A. Torrance. And I thought, oh, Torrance, that's not The Shining, as in Jack Torrance, because I don't know, but I looked up C.A. Torrance, and there's just
Couldn't find.
like
Yeah.
no, it's, you can find a place in California or something. But yeah, just
Yeah, Torrance CA then, right? California
yeah,
CA.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, just the thing of kind of yeah, he says we are all masochists and we like to be tied down and stripped of our freedom. That that aspect of being a kind of yeah, being a kind of of like masochism and just because there's such a, I don't know, to me it's such a sort of a work-based phenomenon. You know, like, I think we spoke about this on other ones where, you know, so much of London is now full of people doing kind of boot camp and doing sort of slightly masochistic um things, you know, to kind of you know, to almost, because that because of that aspect of you know, being stripped of their freedom, you know, like you know, they want to go on these things where they get told off, and they, you know,
Mm.
and I was thinking that in the 80s and the 70s, when giallo was at its prime, it was sort of much more seedy and much more openly seedy. But now it seems like all of the kind of pornography and stuff is online, and there's no kind of and so we're very prudish on the surface, and then much seedier and debased
Right.
than
Like
we
it's
ever
been,
were
it's
in
like
sort of private.
because it's being compartmentalized, right? So it's
Yes, yeah.
No,
Whereas
I know what you
giallo
mean.
and the sort of horror and sex and stuff, that was all kind of like intermingled and
Right. No, I know what you mean. Like you would walk down the high street and you'd maybe pass a cinema or something, and there'd be a poster up, and it wouldn't be outrageous, but there'd be like, yeah, some cleavage and a guy with a gun or something like. So it would be a little bit racist, but it would be out in the open. Whereas
yeah,
now you don't see stuff like that on film posters. It's neutral, but if you go looking for, yeah, you'll find the nastiest porn you could ever imagine online.
exactly.
Yeah,
It seems very strange that we have kind of like a lot of the stuff in this film would be kind of it had almost had to be kind of displayed in this kind of in this this fantasy way.
yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, it's so like. I mean, it's not even. It's for me. It's not really outrageous or nasty enough, really, if you're going to do this kind of thing. But it is so front and center. Like I can't imagine, like if someone took offense at this film, you'd be thinking like, no, like come on, like it's so clearly marked, right? Like you'd have to be just silly to take offense at this.
Well, I quite liked that because it was sort of safe and you know,
I guess.
you know, but at the same time, it was you know, it was riffing on that kind of you know, that relationship between the the private and the kind of giallo world. I think so. That's sort of what I liked about it. But yeah,
This director is Mitsutake Kurando. He's kind of specializes recently a little bit in this kind of retro throwback. So the film he made a film before this I saw called Karate Kill, which was shot in the United States actually, and it's kind of like this is a homage to giallo and stuff. Karate Kill was like a homage to like 70s like Sonny Chiba films and stuff like that, and same kind of. I have a slightly low tolerance for this sort of fanboy entertainment in general. But I enjoyed that a little bit more than this one. But yeah, I suppose there's a certain demographic out there who might eat this up, right? It's
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, to me, like I say, it was just it was kind of it was just the reminder in a way that like that's the way things were. You know, it was sort of a nostalgia trip or something. I know, but at the same time, you know, just in terms of the way we are, so we are so outwardly prudish. So it's kind of you know, it was interesting in that respect. Anyways, there you go. Not much else to say about that, unless you have anything.
No, that's about it.